Joe Azalina. I am Derek Gano. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Joe, around the diamond we go. And where do we stop next?
So we're going to have a pit stop here behind the plate, which is an important position on the field. And we talked a little bit last night, Derek, and we've been communicating this afternoon a lot. And we have a good feeling that we're not going to surprise our listeners today. We have a lot of the same players, maybe different ranks. So I have 8, 3 honorable mentions. But you're going to kick us off and you're going to let us know your guys first.
Yes. So, for those that don't know, we've had this sort of Excel sheet looking thing in previous episodes. So, now we just set it up for catchers. We have all the normal hitting categories, and I even put a little legend on the side there for you in case you're not able to figure out what some of them are. I will talk about the new ones though. Catcher, right, Joe, is really the one of the few that the defensive stats really come into play when you're looking for who is the top catcher in this position. Catcher right is one of the few places where that probably needs to be written down and taken into context.
Yeah, and I think as I got older, I appreciated catcher more. I I realized that the catcher on the baseball field is the only player except for the pitcher that touches the ball every time, right? Because they get the ball, they got to throw it
Yeah.
back. They might have to throw the ball to second or third or even first for a pickoff move, a pickoff attempt. And these catchers all have a lot in common. They have a really good. They usually have really good arms, but they have to have like good leg strength to get to throw the ball hard and fast and on time. Um, I always love to watch catchers during the innings. When you go to a game, you actually can see them not taking even the warm-ups off. They're throwing down second base and they're making that throw just as good as they're going to throw it in the regular innings. So, and an aside, real quick, is that I grew up loving Darren Dalton, one of my favorite players of all time, and I had a liking to keep watching him play all the time. But it is such a demanding position. He went through so many knee surgeries, and it's hard. It's hard for one of these guys to get into their 30s and do this. And I know on my list, I have a bunch of guys in their 30s, and I'm sure your list will shake out a little bit like that. Not a lot of young catchers in the game right now. So
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, you could see the ages in column C there. A lot of them are late 20s and early 30s. It's very interesting. I don't know if you have any thoughts. It seems like catcher is probably the position that takes the longest for players to get up in. Would you say in the minor leagues? Do you have any thoughts on why that might be? I would assume you really got to learn the game, and as you said, they're involved in every play.
I think my two big points are number one, you can't just learn catcher in the minor leagues. If you're not a catcher by at least college, I mean, usually high school, and
Hmm.
for most of these guys, they've been playing it since they were, playing like little league, right? Um, I just think you have to have that strong arm. Like you need a big arm, and again, with the minor leagues, when you come to spring training and you're battling out for positions, you can see guys that have weaker arms and are never going to be able to make it as a starting catcher. So I think a strong arm is huge. That's always tough to develop too, like we just said. Um, Catcher usually is, as I look at a lot of the guys with home runs, catcher usually going to hit you 20 to 30
Yeah.
home runs. So maybe the lack of power as a young player is why these guys don't come up in like, spades, right? The only position I'd say that'd be a little bit harder to come up, maybe an outfield, because you still have to be able to play the outfield. You have to really be good defensively in the outfield.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun category to cover later on, and as Derek mentioned, around the diamond here on timeout. So Yeah, just I don't know. Catcher's just a demanding position, and you gotta want to do it, Derek. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna go through the motions." You're a big all those signs they put down and everything. You really gotta want to be a catcher.
Yeah, and I guess it's all, well, besides pitcher, I guess, but it's one of the also the few positions that you're not playing every day. It's a pretty known fact that if you're even the starting catchers only usually play about 120 of the games, you don't see them playing any more than that because it's so physically demanding. And now that we're going back to the I think 7 inning double headers, we may see um, maybe the numbers might go up if they feel like they can go 7-7. We'll see. But um, yeah, so the fielding categories that we added for the catchers here, and aside from the hitting categories, we do have errors in there. SBA is stolen bases against. So obviously that's how many times they successfully stole a base against this catcher. CS is caught stealing. That's obviously how many times the catcher caught the runner and threw him out. So the percentage would obviously be those two numbers together. I think it's the caught steal. I have it in here somewhere. The caught stealing divided by the two numbers together would give you the caught stealing percentage. So the higher the caught stealing percentage, the better. Passed balls. For those that don't know, there's passed balls and wild pitches. They might look the same, but wild pitches are known to be the pitcher's fault. Passed balls are known to be the catcher's fault. So they add those up. The lower there, the better. I don't know about this framing number, FRM. Just take it as the higher, the better. The
Yeah,
negatives, the worse.
right.
Framing is, when a catcher catches the ball, he tries to pull it slightly into the strike zone. I would assume there's a stat out there that someone takes those or how well that they move it, and that's just the framing stat. So you could see the higher, the better. The lower the negative, the horrible they are at doing that. WAR, we've had that stat before. That's just pretty much everything combined, that they give them a stat or a number. The higher the WAR, the better, and Gold Gloves, of course. um, I do want to just throw out that you'll see Salvador Perez, line 15 here. He was only the 2020 season. He was out, I believe he blew out his knee. I'm not too sure. Um, all of the 2019 season, and then Buster Posey was only the 2019 season. He opted out of the 2020 season. And some of the lower numbers, like Sean Murphy and Will Smith, that's just because that they've been had another catcher there. So, top two, don't forget, highlighted in yellow in each category. Stats represent 2019 2020 seasons. Now that we set that up again, I will get started on my first honorable mention. Joe, we talked about I switched this one right before. And maybe it's because I've seen a little bit well, not a little bit, a lot of pop from them. For the Minnesota Twins, I have Mitch Garver as my first catcher. I will be honest, I don't know if I've seen 2 games of Mitch Garver's, but I do know that he has some great power numbers. You see that he's only played 116 games and 440 plate appearances. He has 33 home runs and 72 RBIs. The home runs are almost equal to everyone else at the top, and he's played significantly more games. Good walk rate there, 10.9. However, he is on the top end of strikeouts, and he doesn't hit the best for average. I guess hoping for a lot of offensive is what I'm getting out of Mitch Garver because um, you see he doesn't catch people stealing a lot. That's actually that might be the lowest percentage. Yeah, it looks like the lowest percentage. And a lot of passed balls. But you see he's up here. I think Mitch Garver just kind of came on the scene, so I wonder if maybe his defense will get a little bit better. But you're always going to have the bat, so I guess this is the one guy that I took his bat over his defensive categories. Do you know any thoughts on Mitch Garver, Joe?
Well,
Or
it's funny because you said you didn't see him play in 2 games. I'm not sure if I seen him play at all. Um, I've heard about him though, and I know that he's pretty good. He's 29. That jumps out at me though because there is a couple guys in their 30s here, and I know Real Muto is 29 and Christian Vasquez is at 29. But you just wonder if Minnesota has anybody waiting in the wings. I guess we can answer that question when we do the AL Central show,
yes,
which will be coming up for our listeners. But Mitch Garver, that would be my only question. I mean, his defense is a little shaky, but I can see him putting an audible mention. I think that's an interesting pick.
so my next honorable mention. Okay, this one doesn't need to be really explained. Maybe I could explain why I have him a little bit lower, but Yadier Molina is my first or my second honorable mention. You see the 9 Gold Gloves. He is known to be one of the best uh, catchers to pitch to in all of baseball. He calls one of the best games ever. And Now we talked earlier. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. So his offensive numbers, and at 37, what do you really expect? You don't expect a ton anymore. But I think that K percentage is pretty key, right? You're
Yeah,
not expecting him to knock the ball out of the park every time, but
no.
you want him to put the ball in play, and that's what he's doing. You see that 13% K rate, so that means he's not striking out. It means he's
There's
putting
a
the ball in
there's
play.
a number there's a number on there though, and he's not the only one as I noticed, but the OBP, the on base, is only at 0.31.
Mm,
Um, it's just something that stuck out to me. But he only has 6 errors. He's tied with Garver in that category and Darno. He's below Navarez from Milwaukee. You know what? I'm gonna be really honest with you. I think that Yadier Molina might end up being one of the best catchers we ever see defensively.
yeah.
Offensively, he gets hits, and I wish to God that the Yankees gave up on Sanchez and would just trade for Molina because I think that'd be interesting to see him in New York. Um, we could. I mean, I know they talked to the Yankees,
Mhm.
but he wasn't signed yet. The Cardinals now he's in Cardinals camp now. Uh, I've always liked him. He's steady Eddie, Derek. That's the best way you can describe Yadier Molina. So that being said, I agree with you, and he'll probably be joining us later.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just explain. So you see the frame rate, and you might say, "Oh, well, that how does that make him a good catcher?" It's pretty on the low side, but it's different. The framing is different from just calling a great game.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if you know that the hitter is probably looking fastball here, but instead you're going to call a changeup and you catch him off guard,
his
it
instincts.
looks great on the pitcher,
Yeah,
but Yadier Molina more than times than not is the one who's calling it, especially for the Cardinals. If you ever see a Cardinals game this year, see count how many times the pitcher shakes off Yadier Molina. I'm gonna say you're gonna probably count it on one hand, if
right.
even that. So
Seven pass balls. That's all he's had,
yeah,
and that's really low compared to some of these guys. And yeah, he just knows how to. You're right. Knows how to call a game. He's a leader. The Cardinals didn't let him get away, and I won't be surprised with the addition of Arenado, one of the teams I'm actually looking forward to talk about in the NL Central on next Tuesday. You know what? Yadier Molina might find himself in a playoff race.
so I'll move on to my number 5 here, and my number 5, I think this is one you don't have. I have Christian Vasquez on there. Um, you look at the hitting categories, and he's kind of, I mean, he's not up there with the top guys.
He's
Full
not low though.
disclosure, it's
He's not
pretty, we're gonna say that it's pretty uh
top heavy.
obvious that Real Muto and Grandal are going to be 1-2 for both of us, because you can see that just up and down, they're the top two in every category.
Big
They're
surprise.
two of the best catchers. But Vasquez has been a great hitting catcher. They had over the past few years like a combination of three of them. It was Vasquez, Swihart was there, I think. Sandy Leone was there, and eventually Vasquez just took over that role because of how well he was hitting. You see the 182 hits is second among all these catchers. 30 home runs is right up there. Can even steal a couple bases. I almost thought about not putting stolen bases in there because you can see a lot of them don't. But hey, that's a
great.
couple a season. You never know.
Yeah.
Um,
Even the average is average.
Average is very
278,
good.
yeah.
You see the frame rate is second in the league with one of the best frame rates. So I decided to put Christian Vasquez up there too. Another guy who just kind of came out of nowhere at 29 years old and is finally probably towards the prime of his career. Any thoughts on Vasquez, Joe?
Just that right now, if I'm a Red Sox fan, I would be worried that like he could be a trade piece, right? I mean, you don't know. Betts is gone, Benintendi's gone. I'm hearing that, and I just read this today, so I thought I'd bring it up that Heim Bloom apparently is talking to the Rays and maybe trying to get one of their better prospects. So, you don't know what the Rays need because they have a lot, but Vasquez is a good player. It did stand out to me. He knocked in 95 RBIs in these 2 seasons. He scored 88 runs. He can steal, like you said, some bases. And to me, Christian Vasquez is a pretty good player. I think he's a switch hitter too, Derek.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So
yes,
Vasquez is a guy I looked at, but I didn't go.
Actually, he's just right-handed.
Is he just right-handed? Okay.
I thought he was too. It doesn't look like they have a ton of catchers in the farm system. They have 18th, 15th ranked guys, but they're not,
not in the top 5
prospects. So
right. Swearhart's not even in the organization anymore. He's a national, I think.
No. The backup for is Kevin Poecki, former Met is the current backup, although he is currently sidelined due to COVID-19.
Oh, jeez.
So my number 4 here, I think the rest are on all of our lists. Number 4 here, I have Wilson Contreras for the Chicago Cubs. Again, you don't see him top 2 in any category, but he can hit the ball. Take our word for it. He's one of the best hitters, at least on the Cubs left. They seem to be, and I must say, I'm very interested to get into the Cubs this week, Joe, because they seem to have been trading everything away, and then all of a sudden they brought in more people. So I'm thinking, what the heck are they doing? But Contreras seems to be someone who they want to build around. He's also someone who got some outfield time, if I recall.
A big guy too.
And
big dude.
Doesn't really run, but you see the power numbers. Thing is, he does seem to make a lot of errors. Caught stealing percentage is about middle of the road. Frame rate pretty low, but I think you can just look at Wilson Contreras and say that he's someone that the Cubs are probably going to build around, right, Joe?
Listen, they have Bryant, they have Rizzo, they have Baez, and we'll save all that for Tuesday's show. But Wilson Contreras is really interesting because he caught a full season. It says here 162 games. That's combined, I know, of 19 and 20, but that's still impressive.
Yeah.
He almost had 700 plate appearances, also impressive. He is on my list, so I'm gonna probably kick it back to you. But Wilson Contreras, is a very, very good hitter. And I think he might end up being a first baseman at the end of his career.
So they have him hitting fourth right now, according to Fangraphs. So he's probably going to be right in the. He's the very important piece right in the middle of that lineup. So Austin Romine will be his backup this year.
Or Yankee.
Yes. My number 3, probably due to, although he did have a great season last year, he was on one of my fantasy baseball teams. Salvador Perez is my number 3. 30 years old, getting a little up there, but he can hit. You see, now remember, this was only the 2020 season, which was, and he only played 37 games. But you see 11 home runs. If you would build that up, that would probably be the most if he played over the 2 seasons.
In the 20s.
No, he doesn't walk. You see that horrendous 1.9%, which is pretty crazy. The average, the on base should be way up there, but with his average being 333, but yeah, he doesn't walk. No errors. Granted, yeah, only 37 games. Okay, no pass balls. But even in 60 games, Joe, they don't really run on him. 9 stolen base attempts. And that's a very low number. So that tells me, and maybe it's because of this Gold Glove. You see those 5 Gold Gloves for Salvador Perez. So maybe that's one reason why they decide not to run against him. But also a great leader when it's not, I can't quite remember, but whenever the Royals won the World Series, he was a key factor with bringing them the title.
Yeah, Salvador Perez is kind of what we were talking about earlier. He's that guy that's just a catcher. Like, he's a big body, really good hitter, like you were saying. And he did win the World Series with guys like Hosmer and Moustakas.
Right.
That seems like a long time ago. Moustakas is playing like 3 different teams, I think, now. But yeah, so he's just that guy. I think the pitchers trust him. I wish Kansas City would give him a little more to work with, because I know they never have very good pitching there. But Salvador Perez is a very, very good player, and he's on my list too. So
another guy who's going to be hitting the middle of Kansas City's lineup. I'm actually pretty interested to look into Kansas City. I actually think that they have a little bit of a good future moving forward. So, and he'll be backed up by Cam Gallagher this year, who was a 2011 draft for the Kansas City Royals. Number 2, yeah, this is pretty,
chalk.
We know, pretty chalk, yeah. We're going in a line here. It'll be Yasmani Grandal first. I mean, what do you have to say? He's out there. He plays. He's not. Yeah. He's not there to sign up. I don't know his the amount of money he got in front of me, but he's got a very large contract.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
That he signed with the White Sox. So he's out there to play. And the 199 games, the most plate appearances, tied for the most home runs, RBIs, best walk percentage, best on base percentage. They attempt the most steals against him. Maybe that's also in part for being out there the most, but it seems like he's probably not the best at throwing guys out. Best frame rate in the league, so
that's impressive.
He's someone who can adjust that strike zone when needed, and obviously the second best in WAR. Joe, I know you're going to get into Yasmani Grandal, but any quick thoughts?
He to me, I love to watch him play at the Dodgers. He really grew there, I thought. But isn't it interesting? And I didn't want to save this for mine because I have a couple things I'll say with me, but he is a perfect leader for this team. A veteran at 31, and the manager, Tony La Russa, who had Molina his whole career almost. Come on. Like, Yasmani Grandal is the National League's Yadier Molina. He's exactly the same, and he loves to hit, and he's such a good left-handed bat. For the listeners out there that wouldn't know that, he's a very, very good left-handed power bat.
Yeah.
Part of me
Switch
thinks he'll be a DH. Oh, I'm sorry, switch hitter. Thank you. But he did spend some time in the National League, but he'll stay there in the American League for the rest of his career. And he'll win another World Series, I bet. If it's not in Chicago, it could be somewhere else.
I will say, by the way, and I don't know if this has been the case for all these, maybe people are looking at these ages and saying those seem a bit off, because I see that he's actually 32. So
he turned
I wonder
32.
if I've been off by 1 year, depending on where I get these stats from. So I apologize if the ages are wrong. You get the gist, though.
Your number one guy is going to be 30. I'll tell you that right now.
Yes. So, and number one, I'm going to leave Joe to talk about most of it, but I mean, he got the large contract this offseason. Second most games, the most great hitter. You see, he averages 273 over these past 2 years. Can actually steal some bases. He's very quick on his feet. And actually the second best caught stealing percentage. So he's a very good catcher, and there's the reason why he made that large contract. So I have JT Realmuto as my number one catcher. You don't have to talk about him, Joe. We'll talk about him later. But do you want to get started on your top 5 list?
Absolutely. So my number 8 guy is a guy that not a lot of people are going to know about, and I don't really know too much about him. But I do know that Sean Murphy for the Oakland Athletics had only under 400 plate appearances in these 2 seasons. He's an elite defender, which we'll talk about. And he has a lot of tools, but he's going to have more of a chance to play this year coming up. That's what I was finding. 25 years old, could be 26, as Derek said. The dates could be a little, the years might be a little off, which is fine.
He's 26. Yes, he's 26.
Okay. So it could be a year. It's a year. So 15% walk rate that's not bad. I mean, that's in the middle. I don't know. This guy, he could be really good. He's so young, Derek. I mean, what do you know if you know a lot about Sean Murphy? Because I don't know much about him.
Well, yes, I know. And I think the year before that is when Stephen Vaught was there in Oakland. But he was probably with someone again last year that he was kind of splitting time. So I do think it's going to be him this year. Their backup is Erasmus Garcia, who I've never even heard of. So, and they say he's going to have over 400 plate appearances this year, which is more than or over double what he's already had. So I think Murphy's going to be the guy this year. He was one of the best prospects for quite a while. So
I remember hearing about him.
Yeah, he should be very good.
Interesting. Well, it brings me to number 7, and that is, and I might have had him a little low here, but I went with Yadier Molina here. I couldn't really put myself to put him at 5 or lower, or higher, I should say, but I got him at 7. He's the Cardinals' backstop for his career. He's the best defender in the National League. It's not even, I wouldn't say it's not even close, but it's kind of close, I guess I'll say. 270 average in 2019. Derek hit 48 home runs in the last 3 seasons. Like, he can hit a little bit. He's not a black hole in the lineup. When I look at our trusty graph here, the only thing that really stands out to me as maybe a little negative would probably be the lack of offense, but not to the degree where like I said, he's not a black hole. I do love the 9 Gold Gloves. Some guys don't even get 1 Gold Glove. That's tremendous. So I don't know if you want to touch another time on Molina, or should I kick it to my number 6?
No, yeah, I kind of said everything that needed to be said on Molina. Very good catcher.
Okay. Number 6 is the guy you didn't have on your list. but it is the catcher from the Cleveland Indians, Roberto Perez. I like Roberto Perez because he's an elite framer. And I also
Yes.
like him because he's 28.2% of hitting a home run. He can hit you some long balls. He's going to progress well. My only question is, without Santana and Lindor, how's he going to be? He's going to kind of be in a lineup with lesser talent, I guess you'd say. He's 32 years old, and on base is low. Slugging, though, at 405 is pretty good. He only has 3 errors. Derek, what do you think about – and 2 Gold Gloves. I mean, he can play defense. What do you think about Roberto Perez?
Yeah, he seemed to be a defensive specialist, right? But he's finally going to get the chance to, it seems to be the guy. I know he's probably splitting time with, probably Yan Gomes was there with him.
Yeah.
So I think Roberto Perez is going to be the guy that they're going with. Austin Hedges is the current backup over from the Padres.
Former Padres guy. Okay.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how long he keeps that, or if they go with Roberto Perez. He's projected around 400 plate appearances as well. If he can get the bat going a little bit, he'll stay there because he's a very, very good defensive catcher. So, but that must be what they're banking on, especially with those young pitchers that the Indians have now. Bieber's obviously 25. Plesac, Tristan McKenzie, someone like him who's only 23. Very young guys. So maybe that's definitely the route that they're going with Roberto Perez.
Bieber has COVID, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yes,
Little COVID problem for Shane Bieber right now. Hopefully he's okay. Number 5, Derek, you questioned me earlier, and the now I look at this list and I'm kind of like, should I had him at number 5? Should he been on my list at all? But I love the young catcher from the Dodgers, and fans and audience alike. If you think I'm drinking the blue Gatorade from the Dodgers, if you think I'm drinking the juice, let me know in our comment section. No, Will Smith, he impressed me in the postseason. Young catcher, 10.7% of a barrel rate. That's pretty good. I don't know. I don't know. I just like the way he plays the game. He runs down the line hard. 91 games in 2 seasons. He hit about 268. That's about average. 67 RBIs in a lineup that, man, do they get on base. I think his thing's going to be, can he win a couple World Series? Where's he going to fall? You know, what's he going to be able to do? And does he win a Gold Glove maybe? I don't know, Derek. I like Will Smith a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting because he does put up numbers when he's out there. It's just that he doesn't get, a ton of the time. He gets probably over 50% of it. But Austin Barnes is another guy who they really trust in Los Angeles. He's projected 390 plate appearances to Barnes's 239, so it's not a huge difference. I would also look at so Keibert Ruiz.
That's the guy.
One of the key prospects coming up, and probably someone we'll highlight in the in when we talk about the NL East or NL West, excuse me. But
Phil G.
When Will Smith's out there, he's one of the best in the league, and at one of the youngest, he still has very room to grow, you think, and no better place than a team that just won the World Series, I guess.
It's true. Only thing would be is if they would trade one of them. That would be my only thing. A team that needs catchers could try to offer a deal up for one of the catchers. So we'll see, and we'll stay tuned to the Dodgers on that. Number 4, Derek, is a guy you had on your list. It's Salvador Perez from the Royals. This guy's a gamer, man. You said it. I love watching him. 20 homer guy, good RBI numbers, and he just really good on tough lineups. Like you said about the World Series, he had a big World Series that year. I want to say it was like 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe the Royals might have won the World Series then in 12. but 31, we'll say. 190 on the walk rate, little low, but he definitely hits the ball at a pretty good pace. 491 slugging. That's among the best. It's only a point under Mr. Real Muto up there. 29.6 on the caught stealing. I like Perez. I know I wouldn't have to defend it because he could even be higher on this list, and he probably should have been. But I know you talked about him, so I don't know if you wanted to add anything about Salvador.
No, I just will say, so it was, to fact check us, it was the 2015 World Series that they won.
Oh man, so, that was 3 years off.
Yes, that was where he helped them win the World Series.
Thank you for that correction. The number 3 guy on my list, Derek, is somebody you mentioned, and his brother is in the Atlanta Braves system. I just want to throw that out there. Wilson Contreras from the Chicago Cubs. A lot of tools, 19, 24 homers, 272 average. But you said it, not really the greatest backstop. And for a pitching rotation that's going to be of who's who this year, of nobody's pretty much, which we'll get into on Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night. Contreras is going to hit the ball well, though. You made a great point. He's going to be the cleanup hitter, probably behind either Baez or Rizzo, I'm going to say.
Bryant, they'll all be in there, yeah.
Yeah, 94 runs scored, 90 RBIs, 30.9 percentage of caught stealing, though he can throw. He even has like a 4 WAR, not bad, almost 4. I don't know. I just watched Contreras hit, and I'm like, geez, I would not want to be that baseball. That's gotta hurt. Like he puts a swing on the ball, Derek.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's much we can say about Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, I would be interested to. I'll just say I'll be interested to see how much time, because you said he might not be the best with the young starting pitchers. So I'd be interested if Austin Romine gets a little more time, although it's not like he's the future or anything.
Right.
So I don't know if I don't see a young guy immediately ready. So
true. Yeah. Davies and Arrieta are rounding out the rotation, I feel like. So it's going to be interesting to see those 2 guys. Number 2, Derek, is a guy that we talked about earlier, and it's somebody that I just, like I said, I watched him a lot in LA. He was the guy that was up before these young kids. Yasmani Grandal has a lot of power. He had 104 RBIs in these 2 seasons. He had 106 runs scored. Derek, he hit 36 home runs in 2 years. That's pretty good for a catcher. Age 32. I mean, come on. Stolen bases against 80. That's pretty high. But even though that's high, he's still getting guys at 29%. So he's only allowed 12 pass balls, which actually, if I look at it, he's actually a little high in that category. Listen, you're not going to win an argument with me that Yasmani Grandal is not a really good baseball player. He got that contract for a reason. He can hit and he can field a little bit. He's not a great defensive catcher, but he's still a good enough defensive catcher. And I think he's a leader, and I take him on my team. And Tony La Russa is going to be happy to have him in Chicago. So,
yeah, the only thing I'll fact correct again myself. So he's in the second year of his 4-year, $73 million deal for the
that's right.
White Sox.
Okay.
So.
Thought it was about 80. Okay, so he's definitely having a pretty good deal and a pretty good start to his deal. So, Derek, number 1. Well, I was nervous all off season. Shout out to Phil Engler, who actually predicted it to be right. But right now he's on the shelf for a couple weeks, and hopefully not too much longer, as I texted you yesterday. Phillies catcher JT Real Muto is my number 1, 20 homer guy, strong arm, pretty good runner. Also, I even liked him in Miami, but as much as I got to know about him, he's a very, very good leader. The pitchers love to throw to him, but the numbers speak for themselves. He almost has 200 hits in 2 seasons, 36 home runs, 115 RBIs. Derek, he stole 13 bases. That leads all the catchers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive. Former high school quarterback in Oklahoma. A 490 slugging percentage. I mean, I can go on and on. JT Real Muto is a very good catcher, but I think he is the best, and I think he deserves to be number one. And if the Phillies have a chance to make the playoffs in the next 5 years and maybe win a World Series, he's going to have some big, big
Mhm.
years, my friend. Big years. We need
Absolutely.
number 10 to come through for us. So, yeah, no, JT's a great player, though.
Um, I'm not sure of our time here, Joe, but a couple other names on here that we didn't talk about, but you might want to talk about.
Well, Buster Posey's interesting. I know he's had the
Yeah,
injuries where he shattered his knee the one year. He's a really good hitter, though. I mean, his home runs went down as he's got a little older now,
right.
but his K percentage is pretty good, and he got a Gold Glove, so I would say him. I look at Travis d'Arnaud. He's really interesting. I mean, former Philly prospect into the deal for Roy Halladay, as we said earlier. Went to Toronto, then he went to the Rays, then he went to the Mets. Now he's a Brave, and he had a great year last year. In 2 years, he had 25 homers, 103 RBIs. I mean, the guy can
Hmm.
hit. Um,
Not the best defensively, but
yeah, and that's the thing. And I looked at that. I didn't want to put him on the list because I thought Perez deserved it, and so did Contreras. But yeah, there's James McCann. What's he going to do in New York this year? This is going to be really interesting to see on an everyday basis. I don't know who their backup catcher is now. If you mentioned that earlier, I forget. But James McCann is a really good player,
yeah.
and he's athletic, and a lot of MLB scouts and MLB people really like him. So the Mets got him for 4 years. They got to figure out what they can do with him now.
I think we talked about most of these guys. I will just mention Austin Nola and Omar Narvaez. They're both guys who are not very good defensive catchers, but can hit offensively. So I'm not sure how long Austin Nola will be the guy. He's kind of someone who can move around. He's probably more of a utility player, anyways. But and Narvaez is a not very good offense or defensive catcher, but he can hit. And Gary Sanchez was for a few years one of the best catchers in the game, finds himself not on our lists. He can hit, but you see that average,
Slugging,
208 average.
048. Like
Yeah,
he's just
that's
forgot how to
a
hit.
30% K percentage. He's got to figure something out. It seems to be he's all or nothing. You see those
Yeah.
44 home runs, which is way above the rest. But and defensively, you see he's the worst framer in the league. 12 pass balls, which is up near the top.
And that's
So
important too.
20
Giving pitchers a
errors, which
strike.
is the most. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I know Yankees fans are a little up in arms. They're not sure where they're going catcher wise, but for now, it's still Gary. We'll see where they go. But I think that's where. Well, you want to just run through our top lists again? I'll go first since I went first. Honorable mention: Mitch Garver for the Twins. Honorable mention: Yadier Molina for the St. Louis Cardinals. Number 5, Christian Vasquez for the Red Sox. Number 4, Wilson Contreras for the Cubs. Number 3, Salvador Perez for the Royals. Number 2, Yasmani Grandal for the White Sox. And number 1, JT Realmuto for the Philadelphia Phillies.
So my number 8 was Sean Murphy of the A's. Number 7, Yadier Molina of the Cardinals. Number 6, Roberto Perez of the Indians. Number 5, Will Smith, the Dodgers. Number 4, Salvador Perez of the Royals. Number 3, Wilson Contreras of the Cubs. Number 2, Yasmani Grandal of the White Sox. And number 1, JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies.
So that'll do it for our top 5 current catchers in Major League Baseball. Next week, be sure to tune in. Not sure of the days yet, but we will be coming to you with a quick little video. Be sure to check that out. That will definitely be out on Monday. But we'll also be doing the preview of the NL Central, as well as the first basemans. I believe I said top five first basemans. I think is also in there.
Next Friday,
Um,
Saturday. Yeah.
Deep into the thick of baseball. So, Joe, any last thoughts before we get going?
Just that this was a difficult thing to kind of put together
Yeah.
because in a way you wanted to have guys be on the list, but like we said, there's times you just have to put them off, and I thought that was interesting just so the fans actually know from us that it wasn't easy. Um, but also it is going to be fun to do 3 shows next week, even though the one is going to be a little advertisement and a looking forward to. But stay tuned to that, and yeah, it was still fun though. I'm excited for baseball. I can't talk
Yep.
about it enough.
Well, that'll do it for us for today. So we hope everyone enjoyed. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube so that you get all of our new videos. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and look for all of our tweets out there. Also, all podcast platforms, you know that drill. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify. We're everywhere if you just want to listen, as well
Everywhere,
as
Derek.
the Facebook page. We're everywhere, yes. So that'll do it for us. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Stay safe and take care.